Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Bulls. A little while in coming for this one, the update on my Cypress clutch. You'll remember that we were struggling a little bit with the IDs. They have actually all now shed out, and in fact some of them have taken their first meal. But to be honest, I'm none the wiser in terms of the yellow belly Enchi combinations and whether they actually contain Cypress or not. So let's have a look. We'll walk through some of the characteristics of Cypress. We definitely got 3 Cypresses, there's no doubt about that. I'm just unsure about the Enchi combinations. This guy here that just nipped me is a straight yellow belly with the dark head. These are actually quite colourful, but there's nothing else in these other than yellow belly. Let's compare this to a previous yellow belly. This yellow belly is from my freeway clutch, and this yellow belly here is from the new clutch, and you can see that the head stamps are remarkably similar. The pattern is remarkably similar, just this guy here is slightly brighter. This guy has had 3 meals on the left, and you can see how quickly they actually grow. This is from my freeway clutch, so this is straight yellow belly from a previous clutch, this is straight yellow belly from this clutch. And there are actually 2 of these straight yellow bellies in this Cypress clutch. This one is the more feisty of the 2. This one actually has already eaten. So if we just have a look at the sides, you can see the flaming up the sides and the typical digital markings on the belly of yellow belly. And let's compare the yellow belly, this one, with the Cypress, and this is the lightest of the 3 Cypresses that we got, and you can see the difference in the head stamp there. Very light coloured head stamp, and you can see the head stamp is open. The eye stripes are very narrow compared to the yellow belly. The head stamp is much lighter, and the snake is much lighter, with the blacks much blacker, and much more regular alien heads on this Cypress. So if we just look at the features of Cypress, we can see on the dorsal, we can see these dots or donut shapes and hooks on the dorsal here. This is Cypress yellow belly, of course. If we have a look at the belly, you can see whitish flames coming up the side, and again the digital belly markings of yellow belly. But of the 3 Cypresses, this one is the classic Cypress and doesn't exhibit as much of the yellow belly influence as the other 2, which are much darker. Let's compare those. You can see the head stamp much lighter, particularly at the back of the head, and it's open and extends down the neck on the Cypress. So here is another Cypress. Again, you can see the very light coloured head, especially at the back, where it's also open at the back of the head just here, and the light colour bleeds down into the neck. Again, you can see the dots on the dorsal stripe and the hooks here, but this one is a little bit darker. Again, we've got these nice white flames coming up the side and an overall dark coloured snake. So this is Cypress yellow belly, but let's compare it to this one. And you can see that there is a similarity in brightness and contrast. This one has the more regular alien heads and is the lighter coloured of the 2 snakes. But there is no doubt that both of these are actually Cypress. This is a light coloured one, this is a dark coloured one, but you can see from the head stamps there, they both have the light coloured head stamp. So this is Cypress yellow belly with a lesser influence, I think, of yellow belly. This is more classic Cypress, and this is Cypress yellow belly with a more classic yellow belly look to it. And we got 2 of those. Here they are side by side, and you can see again the very light coloured head. One of these is male and one of these is female, so that's awesome. We have a matching pair of these 2. Alright, and now we come to the problem snakes. This one here is the banded enchi. It looks classic enchi, but of the three of them, this one actually has the lightest coloured head and also an open colour band at the back of the neck. But we know that Cypress and enchi react quite strangely, and that the classic enchis are usually just enchis and there's no Cypress. So this is the banded one that we got, and I'm still not 100% certain, but I'm calling this yellow belly enchi. There is no Cypress in this, but it is a really nice looking snake. Okay guys, this is Blackhead and this is Blackhead enchi, believe it or not. And Blackhead is a very similar gene to Cypress. You can see what it does to the alien heads here is almost identical to what Cypress does, but this is enchi. How do we know it's enchi? Actually, very difficult to tell in Blackhead. If I can get him to settle down, you can see the eye stripes are actually incomplete. They do get wider towards the back, which enchi does. And you can see the pattern here is slightly banded again, which is what enchi does. This guy has a wicked belly pattern, but you can also see the whites coming up the sides, which is also another characteristic of both Blackhead and Cypress. This guy obviously has the dark head, Cypress has the light head. So this is Blackhead enchi, so we're looking for a Cypress enchi that looks about as non-enchi like as we can get, and that's probably the one that's Cypress. We're also looking for a light coloured head with Cypress, whereas the Blackhead has a dark coloured head. So here we go, this is Blackhead enchi, and it's very un-enchi like. So in our Cypress enchi combos, we're actually looking for a Cypress enchi that looks the least enchi, if that makes any sense. And then we got two enchis that look like this. Clearly still enchi, but a much lower expression, and there are two of them. If we compare them side by side, you can see the difference in this banded looking one and this non-banded looking one. So based upon the interactions of Cypress, it would be this one that is the Cypress if any of them are, but I don't actually, if we have a look at the head stamp on both of them, the head stamps are actually quite dark, so I'm not certain that this is actually Cypress. I'm going to say that both of these are just variations on enchi yellow belly. This is a particularly banded one, this is less banded. I don't really see the contrast that I'd be looking for in terms of enchi Cypress yellow belly. I don't see the light coloured head, particularly at the back of the head, that I'd be looking for, and I don't see the extreme blushing that I'd be looking for. So I'm going to call this one enchi yellow belly. So it looks like all three of those enchis are actually just enchi yellow belly. We got two of these, and this one is very slightly brighter and has a very slightly brighter coloured head, but not enough for me to say that this is Cypress. But it also does have the hooks and donuts down the dorsal. So this is the one that I'm looking at quite closely. Is this one actually, is this one here actually the one that has Cypress in it? If we just have a look at the belly, not particularly bright on the belly, but it is a slightly brighter snake than this one. This is the brightest of the bunch. You see the characteristic dots inside the dorsal here. So this is the one that might actually be Cypress, but I'm calling these all just enchi yellow belly at the moment. So it looks like we only got 3 snakes with Cypress in. None of the enchis I think are Cypress. Alright guys, Cypress is an interesting gene. It's one that I've not worked with before, but it is actually in the spider complex, which means that it's allelic with several other common genes. And we're going to have a look at some of those genes now and see if we can figure out what combinations of genes to mix with Cypress is going to work well. We're going to look at some combinations which are possibly allelic but potentially dangerous. And we're going to look at some combinations which are not allelic, which could also work extremely well. The choice is yours. I'll give you all the options in what we're about to look at now. So, believe it or not, Cypress is in the same complex and is allelic with spider. When you mix blackhead and spider, you get a snake that looks like a normal. When you mix Cypress and spider, you get a snake that looks like a bright spider. So we know these genes are different, we know these genes are allelic, and they are in the spider complex, which means that all the snakes in this complex are actually susceptible to a little bit of wobble. It's not just the spider. Sable, for instance, is in the same complex and is allelic with spider. And sable can have a little wobble. Spot nose, same complex. Super spot nose can also have a little wobble. Chocolate and Wookie, same complex. Champagne, same complex. Spider and champagne in their super forms are a lethal combo, so we don't want to mix those. So when we work with Cypress, we have a choice. Do we mix Cypress with something from the same complex and try for an allelic response, which is often either disastrous or fantastic? Disastrous meaning really bad wobble or lethal combination. Or do we try for a mix with a snake from a different complex that complements the pattern and colour of Cypress? For instance, Mojave, which is in the blue-eyed leucistic complex and therefore not allelic, so we can mix that with Cypress without worrying about any weird allelic interactions or any lethal combinations. So when working with Cypress, we do need to be cognizant of the fact that these are all spider complex genes, and we need to be very careful about what we mix with what. So in terms of animals which are in the same complex, which we might get a strong reaction with Cypress, Cypress is actually in the same complex as spotnose, and this is a spotnose yellow belly. The cypresses are Cypress yellow belly, so we wouldn't want to mix these two snakes because there's one dose of yellow belly too many and we don't want to get an ivory. But Cypress and spotnose is probably going to make an awesome combination. The reaction should be very strong because they're in the same complex. So this is my spot-nose yellow belly male, and I think you can see what direction we're moving in with our clown project. Now that we have some Cypress in the mix, we'll be working with Cypress to get that into clown, and you can see the direction that we'll be heading in terms of what we're going to mix it with. Another interesting gene that's also in the same complex as spider and therefore Cypress is sable, which is a very dark gene, and I was actually hoping that my maternal clutch would have hatched by now so that you guys could take a look at some of the sable orange dream combos. So again, sable will be going into our clown projects. But sable is another gene in the same complex that we can mix Cypress with and hopefully get an outstanding result. Now another gene that is not in the same complex, this is Mojave. Now this is in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, so not allelic with Cypress, but you can see that the pattern modification of Mojave and the bright colours would lend itself very, very well to mixing with Cypress. I always think of Mojave as being the poor man's spot nose, And so Mojave is another gene which would probably mix very, very well with Cypress. And you don't have to worry about any allelic interactions. So this is Mojave, another direction we could go. So there you go guys, I'm still unsure about those 3 yellow belly enches. Do they have Cypress or do they not? I don't think they all do. I actually am favouring none of them having Cypress, but we'll hang on to them for now and maybe revisit that in a later video. So hopefully we'll have some more Cypress clutches to work with, which will give us a much better idea of what Cypress looks like and how it interacts with other genes. That's the key to working any new gene. You need to see it in various combinations, in all its different manifestations, before you get really familiar with what it looks like. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.